Hey folks, today I've got a very special show for you. I'm going to do a quick update. I'm going to show you the tank I'm going to give away and other things that I'm giving away at the Big Fish deal. And I'm going to show you just a couple of things that I picked up online. It's all coming up right after this. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and today I'd like to start the show off with something that I've been told I don't do enough, which is a quick update on a recent aquarium. Now, the fluvial flora that I set up not too long ago is doing really good. It's finally kind of started to come into its own. The plants are starting to grow, which means I can add fish. As you know, I had good bacteria in the tank, so it's not a legit, straight up cycling from nothing kind of situation. But the first thing I added was some nearite snails. Besides being pretty tough, nearite snails go to town on diatoms especially, and in the early days of any planted tanks, you're likely to get a lot of that brown algae or diatoms on a lot of the surfaces in the aquarium. Added one, and then the next week I added two more, and they've been absolutely going to town on the algae in there. I've had a little bit of hair algae. Mostly what's affected is the anubias on top. But overall, the clarity and stuff for that tank has done really well. If anything, I think I maybe went too far boiling out all the tannins. I kind of would have liked to have gotten a little bit of that brown color back. But the great thing about botanicals is I have a metric ton of them and can add more at any time. In fact, I got some new ones in my aquarium box, and I'll show you that later. But overall, I'm really happy with the setup. It's been a really neat looking tank, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there. I actually went to a meetup last weekend, and I'll probably show you some footage from that next week. But there at the shop, I came across a plant I'd never seen before called mermaid weed. And I went ahead and I threw that in the fluvial flora as well, since it's got light and CO2 and ample space for things to grow. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out. It's a really cool looking plant. I've never seen one like it. So as you guys know, over the past, 4 or 5 years or so, I've been going to the Big Fish deal. I had to skip 1 year, but I've gone to the Big Fish deal, I think it's at least 3 times now. And this year I'll actually be participating in our hardscaping demonstration, in which I'm going to use this aquarium. As you folks know, I've got a really large collection of hardscape material that I'll probably never get around to using all of in the garage. And I'm going to bring that along with all of this. And I'm going to set this tank up and do a hardscaping demonstration, and then it's going to be given away. I'm not sure the way that it's given away, like if it's a raffle or silent auction. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but I'm offering this up to one lucky guest from that show. I'm going to have links to where you can get this stuff. They're not affiliate links. They're just I don't think this is on Amazon. That's really the only place I do an affiliate link. This is very generously donated by both 7 Ports and Aqualife. Aqualife makes a lot of chemical supplements that I use, like dechlorinator. I've actually shown you the dechlorinator before, my playing with dechlorinator episode. And I'll show you all that stuff in just a second. But let's take a look at this aquarium. So as you might remember in some of my Aquashopper videos, I've actually bought 2 tanks that were very similar to this, but much smaller. One is the little tiny 3-gallon tank that I have set up right now and is still kind of on the mend. Another one is a 9-gallon tank, or maybe, I can't remember if it's 9 or 10, but I haven't actually gotten around to setting it up. I was going to do it right before Christmas, and this other tank kind of jumped up in front of it. I very likely will be setting that up really soon in the next coming days. If anything, I've gotten real excited because of this tank. This is a 25-gallon rimless tank. A couple of things that make it special is it's got the 45-degree beveled glass, which is a little bit different way to connect the glass. They're actually beveled here at the top. And I'm not completely sure what the advantage is there with that, but that's kind of an interesting thing that I don't see a lot. The other thing that makes this really special is it's got a very smart internal filter. Now I know what you're saying. This isn't new. I've seen this before. The specs all do that. The BioCubes do that. Well, this is a little different, and I'll tell you why. So what makes this chamber really different is that it's baffled out. And then what that means is that your media is never going to go dry. So you could drain this thing down to here, and the water level will be all the way nearly at the top or wherever it was when you went to drain it. That means your heater, even if like you let your water run kind of low, your heater's going to stay wet. Your media when you do a water change, it's going to stay immersed in water, and it won't, start to dry out or start to, the bacteria start to die as soon as you get the water off of it. So I just think that's really, really neat. The 3-gallon does it, and in my 9-gallon does it, and now here's a 25-gallon. It's funny, this didn't look so big when I picked it up, but I got it home and I realized it's almost as big as my cube, my 27-gallon cube that I have in the back. But boy, how much more efficient is this? But this super cool aquarium is not the only thing that's coming with this. It's also getting an Up Aqua UX Series LED light. I've used the smaller versions of this light and really like it. It's a really nice aluminum light, and it's got the stands that are made to kind of flip up, so you can actually rotate it up if you need a little bit more room while you're working in there, and then it'll rotate it back down when you're done. Really, really neat LED light. It's very bright. These things are really, really bright. So normally with these tanks, they do have the chambers, but they don't have any of the mechanical stuff for the filter. So let's talk about that. I'm giving away this Azu pump. So that's going to go in the back here and we'll be pumping out the water. Also, we have an Awasa heater. What is this? 100-watt heater. That'll go in that back chamber over there. We also have an Up Aqua brand mini CO2 system. This is sort of similar to the Fluval's version of this that I opened in the Flora. It's got the small canister, it's got a little tiny regulator, bubble counter, and so on. So a neat little beginner's CO2 system. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you can find all of these products on the 7 Ports webpage. So from Aqualife, I'm going to be throwing in here a portion of their biological media. This is a really good thick porous media. I've got a little experiment that I want to do on my next aquascape. The person that provided this to me said that they're doing some cool stuff in Vietnam with adding this to the base. Like instead where I would have done maybe crushed coral or something like that, they're adding this to the base along with some of the liquid biological supplements. I won't be able to do that for the demo since I'm not actually going to fill this up with water. I think that would be kind of a waste. But wow, what a neat idea. I'm definitely going to try that on my next aquascape. Speaking of liquid biological supplement, Aqualife makes a really good one called Activate. I use this almost every time I start up a new aquarium. In fact, I usually keep a bigger bottle around just to throw in with a water change to kind of help things out a little bit. Aqualife Complete is the dechlorinator that I normally use, and I really like it. I think it works really well. There's a small version of that, kind of a getting you started kind of setup for there. I'm also going to include a little Aqualife zipper bag. This is to put the biological media in, and it's got a zipper which makes it really handy. And it's a nice little zipper bag for the media. Now to set up the substrate and stuff, they've given me a very generous portion of what is this? Mr. Aqua plant soil. And there's a couple of different kinds. I've got a tiny bag of the coarse soil. And I've got about 4 bags of the fine soil. Quite a bit of this. Hopefully plenty enough to put a nice layer on the bottom here. There's actually some stuff from Aqualife that I haven't tried yet, but I'm really curious that they sent that. They've got apparently fertilizers for plants. I've used the Activate and their dechlorinator quite a bit, but I've never used any of this stuff. So the first one I'm going to show you is called Lush. And what it says about it is Lush is formulated to maximize plant growth and provide nutrients for new tanks. So this is kind of like a getting you started plant food. It's a little bit more concentrated, a little bit more intense. Next we have Phytotone, and what they say is this is a maintenance food. So it's kind of a lower nutrient content plant food. And it's more for established tanks. If you want to add a little bit with your water change, it's the way I typically add stuff to my water. And this one I'm really curious about. It's called Evoke. And what it says is it's a carbon dioxide supplement. So this is supposedly liquid carbon dioxide. Now, I don't know if this works like Excel does, which is basically Excel is really a algicide. If I remember correctly, this does not work the same as that. Like, that's not the active ingredient. I'll have to check with the manufacturer to make sure on this. I'm probably going to try this myself, so I'm going to find out some more information about this. If it works differently than Excel or in a different way than Excel, I'm really excited to try actual liquid carbon for a change. I know they went to a lot of work to make this, and supposedly they're real proud of it. So I'm really curious to see how this does. And that's it. What a great haul. Some lucky person is going to have a really, really cool setup. And on top of all this, I'm going to be throwing in a custom hardscape of Dragonstone that I'm going to put together. My original plan for this was to do a full aquascape, and that's with plants and the water and all that. But I got to thinking about it, and I was like, you know, I would be less likely to bid on something I was going to have to deal with right away. And by that I mean I'd have to have a place in my house like ready to go to hold what is not a tiny little tank. I mean, it's not a huge tank, but it's not a small one either. You're definitely going to have to kind of prepare a space for it. And although I think my aquascapes are really great, it's not the kind of thing that, I don't know, it's not going to be like a collector's item. If anything, you can take the stuff I've done, kind of mess with it, give it your own touch, and then put plants in it and plant it out when you're ready. So for that reason, and for simplicity, it's just a one-day event. I thought it would be good to kind of just stop at the hardscape. I can talk about that. There's plenty to talk about. It's a huge subject. But I will do a demo inside this tank. We're going to pull this plastic off once I get there. We'll set it up with a pretty hardscape, and I'll be sure and film it and come back and show you guys what I got. Yes, the Big Fish Deal 8 will be, it's in Maryland. It's kind of near Washington, D.C. And that is being held on March 14th, 2020, of course. There'll be lots of other fish tubers there this time, probably more than usual actually this time. There's a lot of people that live kind of around that area. Of course, Rachel's going to go there. That's her home club. Really, actually, there's too many to name. A lot of good friends, a lot of people I've known for a long time are going to be there, and I'm excited to see them again. There will be live streams going on from there. I think I've been loosely kind of following the YouTuber banter on Facebook. We've set up a little session just for this event, and as I recall, they're going to be doing sort of a series of live streams where one person's going to live stream and they're going to hand it off to another person and they're going to live stream. So this event will be viewable all day from a couple of different channels. So even if you can't make it, please check in and see what's going on some of those videos. I don't think I'm going to be live streaming. I didn't sign up for a slot in there. I don't really enjoy live streaming. But I will definitely jump in on somebody else's and then conveniently slip out, like, because I have no responsibility to keep entertaining people. My favorite thing to do is walk up and kind of embarrass somebody while they're on a live stream and then just disappear. Okay, so a couple of people have asked, you know, I haven't seen any of my aquarium boxes. Whatever happened to my aquarium boxes? Are you still getting them? The fact is, yes. Yes, I am. I decided that showing them every month got a bit tedious. Mostly because so much of my audience now is from out of the United States. They can't buy these things. It doesn't apply to them. There's still a lot of people in the U.S. that really liked it, but I decided this month I'm going to just show you my favorite thing, which is this really cool pod. I'm going to pull it out of the bag. Greg over at My Aquarium Box has found a lot of these different botanicals. And I really think these are neat. I can't wait to use them. They look like little beehives. They're really light. Like, they're really light to the touch. They look like they'd have some weight to them, but they're not. Very hollow. And I don't think that they'll hold up very long. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I still get my aquarium box. A lot of the supplies in there I end up using in my videos and my many aquariums and my many setups. I'm definitely kind of starting to get overrun with botanicals at this point, but man, I love them so much. They're really neat. I'm gonna boil one of these and probably stick it in the flora because I'm really curious about this. Maybe in the Flex too over here. Now there's something I bought off Amazon for the Flora tank, and that is a new glass CO2 checker. And here's a nice video of it. I decided I wasn't too happy with like the cone-shaped CO2 checker I had. It seemed like it wasn't holding the liquid in there. I'm not sure what was going on, but the liquid for some reason seemed to get lower and lower, and then I just decided to replace it altogether. This other one's been really handy, and what I've done with the CO2 in that tank is I've just kind of put it on a slow bubble. Like it's like a bubble every maybe one bubble a second or every other second. And I never turn the regulator down. So basically it's just bubbling and bubbling all night long and all day long. And what I've been doing is just kind of keeping track of the CO2. And of course I was doing all of this before I put any fish in it or even the snails. But I come in the morning, I flip the lights on and I check that CO2 checker and just kind of gauge how it's doing. And you know, then I put the lights back to normal. And I come in the afternoon after work and I'll look at it then. And then when on the weekends, I'll kind of check it throughout the day. What's really interesting is I've been able to keep it at that green level. And the way those CO2 drop checkers or CO2 checkers work is they have a little air pocket inside and it interacts with the water. I guess the fumes from the water interact with the chemicals that are inside of there. There's a special fluid that you put inside there. And I guess it measures the amount of CO2 in the water. It doesn't do it like real time. It's one of those things where over the course of maybe 30 or 40 minutes you get a measurement. And of course it's probably not as accurate as you know, a straight up water test, but it's a hell of a lot more convenient. And it's all already in your tank at all times. If something really went bad, it would probably take it a while, like CO2 wise, it would probably take it a while to turn yellow, that warning color. And for that reason, it's not something, you know, you can't rely on it 100%. But it's definitely good because it's sort of passively there to warn you if something's going wrong all the time. So it's not something you have to remember to turn on or a test you have to make time to do. It's just always in there kind of testing the water. Now along that same line, one of my viewers, you know my viewers are the smartest aquarium enthusiast in the world, right? You already knew that. So if you remember when I was setting up the 20-gallon, I tried to put an inline solenoid, one that wasn't connected to the tank, but just kind of between the tank and the CO2 diffuser. And as soon as the high pressure, you know, as soon as it cut off and all that pressure was built up in the little segment of hose between the solenoid and the CO2 tank, it just, well, it immediately exploded. It scared me quite a bit. I screamed. It wasn't pretty. I'm not proud of it. So one of my viewers recommended this very unassuming black hose that is actually meant for hydraulic fluid, like brake fluid and things like that, so it's meant to take pressure. Now, I might be a little bit premature in showing you this or talking about it anyway, because I haven't tried it, one, and two, I'm not sure I can get boiled water hot enough to melt this thing to go around anything. It is really strong and rigid. So we're gonna have to put a pin in this, and but I definitely want to try this with a solenoid. Perhaps when I do my next tank, what I'll do is I'll experiment a little bit and see if I could make a solenoid that would work with one of these small CO2 systems. They would definitely go a long way towards making them more practical. And the little inline solenoids are like another maybe $20. I think this was about $9, and this would be enough to last you, you know, especially if you just used it for that one particular section between the tank and the solenoid. This would go for a long, long time. It's probably like 6 foot of hose here. So I haven't gotten a chance to try it. I probably will try it with the Flora, maybe next month or something, and that'll be a fun experiment for us to do then. So like I said, last Sunday, I went to an aquarium shop in town it's been there for a while, but it's actually hasn't been there for a while because it's just been redone. It was sort of an okay aquarium shop before. Now it's definitely much better. He's done a lot of work inside it, and it's a nice little shop, and I can't wait to show you. That's all coming up next week. Until then, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. So as you might remember in some of my awkward... Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and today, as you know, as you guys know, hey folks, today...